All right, shalom, 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 Israel. Welcome to Faith by Works, right? Where we study a commandment week in and week out to perfect our walk with the Most High God in these last days, man. Welcome to another episode. Welcome to another video for your edification, man. Right? So let's get straight into it. Hope everybody's had a good week, right? And we're gonna start it off right again with another lesson of Faith by Works, right? This is the book of Psalm, chapter 34 and verse 3. It says, "Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. Keep thy tongue from evil, and thy lips from speaking guile. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it." Amen. That's why in the Paleo Hebrew we say, "Call halal Yahweh by Hashem wa Malak Yahweh Shah." That's giving all honor and glory to the Most High God Yahweh by way of his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, man. Right? Everything that we say and everything that we put our hand to do, it needs to be done in glorification of the righteous and most sacred order of the Lord. This is the book of James, chapter 2 and verse 14. "What does it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? Can faith save him?" So simply saying, I love God, I fear God, I got a relationship with God. Hey, the Lord is my Lord. He is my power. Is this enough? Is this sufficient enough? Well, verse 18 says, "Ye a man say, Thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works." So you show forth your faith by the actions that you do. All right. You keeping the commandments. All right. Love is an action word. "My little children," this is 1 John 3 and 18. "My little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth." So we got the action part, right? But today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to show the importance of how our forefathers, right, were able to perform the works of the Lord with their faith. Okay. All right. Because what we've been teaching in this series is that you prove your love for the Lord with your actions. Well, if you're not careful, your actions will not be recognized or reverenced from the Lord if you don't believe, if you don't have faith in the Lord. So the commandment and the premise of this week, the title of today's class is Works of Your Faith. All right. Works of your faith. All right. Because we have to understand both sides of it. Okay. You prove your faith by your actions, your works, but you prove your faith in the Lord, all right, with your belief. You actually prove it, all right, with your belief. You cannot do any works of the Lord without believing in the Lord. Okay. You ever heard that little worldly saying, right? Where it's like you already lost the battle if you already shooting yourself in the foot and shooting yourself down with a lack of confidence. If you go in that ring, you have a boxing bout, and you really don't believe that you're gonna win, you already lost. It's kind of like the movie Rocky 3 when he lost his trainer. When he lost his trainer, he already lost. He went in there and his spirit was low, his spirit was down. That boy got in there and got his ass beat. But the second time he had the eye of the tiger. The second time he actually believed in himself and he was successful. He was prosperous in the end. So today we're really going to explain and dive deeper into the works of faith. All right. Actually executing your belief. All right. Because if you don't, your works will not be recognized. Okay. So let's get this account real quick so that I can really get brothers and sisters to understand what we bringing out today. We're going to go to Matthew 17, that same account that we've been meditating on all week, all right, with Brother Potter and Brother Abad. Matthew 17, I'm going to start at verse 15 in the NLT. It says, "Lord, have mercy on my son. He has seizures and suffers terribly. He often falls into the fire or into the water. So I brought him to your disciples, but they couldn't heal him." Yahushua said, "You faithless and corrupt people, How long must I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring the boy here to me. Then Yahweh shall rebuke the demon in the boy, and it left him. From what moment the boy was well, from that moment the boy was well. Afterward, the disciples asked Yahweh privately, why couldn't we cast out the demon? You don't have enough faith, Yahweh told them. I tell you the truth. If you have faith, even as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain. You could say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible. So we have to understand that through this account and through Yahweh teaching his disciples that a lot of times we do our works, we do these actions for the wrong reasons. We think we're justified by keeping the commandments, right? But we have to dive deeper into the faith part, the F word of faith, all right? And how it's important to believe in the Lord and his plan and in his will so that your works won't be unrecognized. You understand? So we're going to get the definitions of both the fear of God and also faith. All right. So according to the Bible dictionary on Bible Hub, right, I'm not going to share my screen. I'm going to just read it. All right. Fearing God in biblical context refers to a profound reverence and awe for the Almighty, recognizing his power, holiness, and authority. It is not merely a fear of punishment, but a deep respect and acknowledgement of God's majesty and righteousness. This fear is foundational to wisdom and is a central theme throughout Scripture. So those parables that the brother Abbas so eloquently broke down earlier this week, right? You understand the deep parables of the Scriptures with the foundation. That's what the brother like started off with. That's what he actually builded his lesson on, was understanding how important the keeping the commandments is, because when you keep the commandments, you get understanding. All right. That's Proverbs 9 and verse 10. Let me get that real quick. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. For by me thy days shall be multiplied, and the years of thy life shall be increased. So the beginning of learning things comes with obedience. It kind of reminds me of that movie, Hurricane Season. When you watch Hurricane Season, that brother had all of the talent in the world, right? But he was stubborn. And he despised order. He despised wisdom. He was very selfish. Had all of the game in the world. He could do whatever he wanted to do with a basketball. But he didn't understand the basic principles, the commandments of the game of teamwork, the commandments of the game of what? Loving our teammate and believing in our teammate. The commandments of what? Valuing the foundations of the game. Everybody want to dunk a basketball. Everybody want to shoot a three. Everybody want to be super surgical and super unique with a layup. But don't nobody want to learn how to chest pass, how important it is to dribble down low with your chest up, to be aware of everybody on the court, right? The importance of transitioning and being able to turn on the dime just like that, but being in the right position at the right time. All of the foundational things is the equivalent to the commandments of the Lord. When you don't prioritize the commandments of the Lord, you don't understand the deep parables. When you don't understand the foundations of basketball, you're not finna be no dunker, no layup, or no 3-point shooter. It all starts with the basics. And that's how it is in His truth. What you have to do and what you have to learn is you have to prioritize the Lord's commandments to understand His deep parables. You understand? So that's the definition of the fear of the Lord. It's not so much as a phobia. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, okay, Brother Kasadia and Ezra's situation. Him fearing Kasadia shouldn't look like him balling up in the corner and being afraid to even interact with his father. No, the fear of it is, hey, son, when I tell you to do something, you need to do it. When I tell you to go and help clean up, when I say everybody clean up, you need to have their respect unto me to say, okay, daddy, about to clean up because I want to make you happy. I want to clean, not, and then also not cleaning up because I want ice cream later, but clean up because I love daddy and what daddy told me to do. That's how the fear of God should be executed and done, right? So let's get the actual definition of faith, right? You already know we're going to get the classic. We're going to go to Hebrews 11 and verse 1. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Now, when we actually look it up in the Bible dictionary, according to BibleHub.com, it says this: faith in the biblical context is a profound trust and confidence in God and his promises as revealed in the scriptures. It is both a gift from God and a response to his revelation. Faith is not merely intellectual assent, but involves the whole person, mind, heart, and will committing to God and his truth. So we see that it's a trust and a confidence in the Lord. You understand? A trust and a confidence is it's just different. It's unexplainable. It's just there. It's just in you. You understand? And it gets there through the afflictions that he puts you through, and how when he puts you through those afflictions, he shows you how he's carried you through the whole situation. For an example, I'm going to give you my testimony, right, on that. Whole time I was having vehicle, I was going through the frustration with vehicles and getting my truck fixed and everything, and I ain't had no wheels. As frustrating as it was, and how pissed off it was, and how I got gypped by this mechanic, the whole time the Lord provided wheels. The whole time I was able to get to work on time. The whole time I was able to dwell and do everything that I needed to do. Through all that, you see how all your affliction is. So now later, if something goes wrong with my truck, I now have a profound trust and confidence in the Lord that he's going to provide. Because for 2 years almost, no wheels. But he provided help from my brother, my mother, my wife, right? And he gave me enough funds to actually rent a car for a little while. So over the course of this whole time, I now have profound trust and confidence that the Lord he's going to provide. But see, in the substance of things, you don't see it. Right now, to the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man, right now, rulership, that sounds unrealistic. But we know that we serve a just and balanced God. Revelation 13 and verse 8. We understand that he that leadeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. We also understand that it makes no sense how we go through all of this for nothing. We go through all of this just to see that our Lord and Savior is white with long, stringy, brown, golden retriever hair, right? With blue eyes and pork pink skin. Like it doesn't add up. We understand through faith and through the things that have been known unto us and have been written unto us, right? In the scriptures, we understand that we have faith, right? So now we have the actual definition of faith and what the fear of God is in the Bible dictionary and also scripture. We can now understand the importance of having faith and believing in the Lord and the performance of the law and how that's important, because it's about faith and believing. Otherwise, your works are not going to be recognized. I yield there, King.
Come on, King. Hey, that's a mighty opening, and all praise to the Most High. I'm just going to let me back on what you already bringing up, because like me and the brother were discussing before we hit that record button, our entire series that the Lord has commissioned us to do is called Faith by Works, right? But I mean, that same saying is also valid the opposite way, right? Works by faith, right? When we do things for the Lord, we do things because of our faith, right? We do these works, we keep these commandments because of our faith, right? Without that faith, I mean, those works that we do are for naught, right? So the brother was bringing out Hebrews 11. I like to continue on that one. And jump down to verse number 6. It says, but without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Right? You have to believe in the Most High, right? Or there's no pleasing it. There's no pleasing him. You have to believe in his words. You have to believe in his promises. You also have to believe in his judgments and his the punishments that he issues out. Right? Like the brother brought out, being a parent. And your child, or let's take it back to when we were children, right? And our parents set particular guidelines for us, right? Those guidelines always stayed in the back of our mind, even when we were outside of the house, whether it would be at school or running the streets doing whatever we was doing, right? The guidelines that were set by our parents kept us within a certain railway, right? A certain sidewalk that we made sure that we didn't cross certain thresholds because of what certain consequences that can happen to us. Or even on the flip side, when we're trying to accomplish a particular goal, right? And we're working or we're studying or doing whatever we got to do in order to progress our success story, right? We make sure we stay within proper guidelines, right? And that's all that faith is, right? So when we do these works by this faith, we have to always make sure that, one, the faith is real, right? And it all starts with belief. And two, it's all through sincerity, right? Because if you're not sincere in this thing, then what are you really doing it for? If you're not sincerely here to serve the Most High God, if you're just here for a reward, right, then are you really serving the Most High God, right? That's where the fear part comes in, right? This is the book of Sirach, chapter 19 and verse 18. It says, the fear of the Lord is the first step to be accepted of him, and wisdom obtaineth his love, right? So it goes hand in hand, right? You're not going to be accepted of the Most High without what? Faith and fear, right? Verse 19, the knowledge of the commandments of the Most High is the doctrine of life, and they that do things that please him shall receive the fruit of the tree of immortality. The fear of the Most High is all wisdom, and in all wisdom is performance of the law, right? So you can't perform the law without what? Wisdom. And that wisdom has already been spelled out. Where does that come from? The fear of the Most High, right? All of this stems from what? Believing the report, right? I'm going to pause there right there, and I'm going to get, do I want it in Isaiah 53? No, I'm going to get it in John. I'm going to get it in John because I want to. This is the book of John, chapter 12. What I want. Yeah, I'm going to start at verse 35, right? It says, then Yahushua said unto them, yet a little while is the light with you. Walk while ye have the light, lest darkness come upon you. For he that walketh in darkness knoweth not whither he goeth, right? So the light, these words that we believe in, right? This doctrine, right? Yahushua, right? Those are those guidelines that I was speaking of earlier, right? And we have to believe and trust in those guidelines, right? Lest we I'm back. So like you can, I
Yeah,
can't hear.
you have froze. You have froze up a little bit.
Okay.
Refresh that point of trust.
Boom. So we have to trust in these guidelines, right? And in this context, Yahushua is showing us that those guidelines, the one I was talking about with the parents earlier, those guidelines is the light, right? These words, Yahushua, right? And without following those guidelines, we can easily fall to the wayside in the darkness, not knowing where we're going, right? Verse 36, it says, while ye have light, believe in the light, right? So here's that faith part coming in again, right? That ye may be the children of light. These things spake Yahushua and departed, and did hide himself from them. But though he had done so many miracles before them, yet they believed not on him. That the saying of Isaiah, I never know how to say Esaias. Oh, I just said it. Esaias, the prophet, might be fulfilled, which he spake, Lord, who hath believed our report, and to whom hath the arm of the Lord been revealed, right? And obviously, it was talking about Yahushua in Isaiah 53, right? That's the light, right? That's where Yahushua is that choice vine, that true vine, and we want to be grafted into him, right? That's the source of this faith, right? That we're supposed to have, because what Yahushua performed all the works perfectly to a T, right? And us, our righteousness are as filthy rags, pursuing Isaiah 64:6, right? So when we are drawing from a source, what that source, Yahushua just told us, is him, it's that light, right? No man coming through the Father but through Yahushua, pursuing to John chapter 14, right? So faith and fear, right? They have to be harmonious, right? And they have to be the sole driver of our works, right? Look at it this way. Your works, right? Let's bring it to something I know brothers can understand, right? Your engine, an engine does what? Work, right? But how does an engine work, right? Well, it needs some type of combustion, right? Some type of fire to make those pistons kind of fire off, right? Well, what fires off those pistons, right? Fuel, right? So the fuel would be what? This light, these words, the Most High, in the name of his only begotten son, Yahushua, right? That's the fuel, right? And it fuels that fire, which is what? Your faith, right? And that faith gets the engine to work, right? So we titled this class Works by Faith or Works of Faith, right? Because we understand that it all goes hand in hand. Again, we can't show our faith without works, right? But if we're working without faith, right, what's an engine without fuel? What's an engine when the pistons are misfiring? That's sound like a broke down engine to me, right? But I'm a yield right there.
Mighty points, King. Right. So I'm gonna jump into I guess finish sealing up, the importance of undeniable faith and belief, right? I'm gonna get a few precepts and shoot it right back to you. Not gonna be too long, right? So living by faith means relying on God's promises rather than immediate circumstances. What we have to understand is feelings and immediate circumstances, we can't be hyper focused on them. All right, because what that's going to do is that's going to reflect a lack of faith. You understand? Looking past what you see, but rather what is evident, right? Like I said before, count how many times, you were in a bind and you prayed unto the Most High God for help and he helped you, right? Will you motivate that consistent help of the Lord and that presence of the Lord, the more obedient you are? Okay, you keeping his commandments, expressing your love and appreciation for him, and he will never forsake you. And with that being said, fully acknowledged and understood, your faith is going to grow like a mustard seed. It's going to grow. It's going to get branches. It's going to produce fruit. You understand? All because of the countless times the Lord was with you and delivered you out of something, right? It's proved. You got to look at what has been done. It's like our people have trouble remembering the Lord and how faithful he is to us. Imagine how irritating that is. It's like you do so much for your child, and he still has this. I don't know. It's almost it's like okay, I provide you every meal, and then when I go and I teach you how to ride a bike, you scared that I'm gonna let you fall. You scared of the ground rather than having a fear and reverence unto me, who's teaching you how to ride the bike. You know what I mean? Imagine how frustrating it is, and then capture that frustration and think and meditate like, dang. So that's how a lack of faith really displeases the Lord. That puts Hebrews 11:6 into perspective. It is impossible to please the Most High God. And in every way, are you displeasing him and pissing him off? Because it's like, I do all of this for you, but you still don't see me as your power. You still are drinking from broken cisterns. You still are trying to do things on your own, as stupid as that may sound. But that's what's taking place, right? Let me get this real quick. This is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 6. It says, therefore, we are always confident, knowing that whilst we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord. For we walk by faith, not by sight. We are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord. So you have to understand, when you're prioritizing feelings and emotions, you're trying to dwell by yourself, and you have that lack of belief in the Lord, you're operating in the body, you're operating in the flesh, and you're absent from the Lord in that sense. So what you have to do is put your faith in the Lord and count how many blessings, count how many positives you have in your life. Think about how many times he's been merciful, how many close calls you've had. And then that's when you're really gonna reignite that faith that you should have. And then that's when you'll be operating in the presence of the Lord. All right. Trial testing. Can't really express it enough. Faith is strengthened and proven through trials. You kind of got to compare it to that Zechariah 13, right? In verse 8, I believe, right? When, matter of fact, let me get it because I don't want to. I'm going to just briefly check it real quick. I'm not going to read it because if I read it, it's going to be going into something else. I just want to make sure Verse 9, it says, and I will bring the third part, Zechariah 13 and verse 9, I will bring the third part through the fire and will refine them as silver is refined and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name and I will hear them, and I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God. So we're heard, our prayers are answered, right? Because of the often times where we came to him in our afflictions because of our faith. You understand? So what we have to understand is through trials and tribulations, our faith is strengthened. And it's these trials and tribulations that the Lord uses to cultivate us into that beautiful flower, to mold us into something acceptable to go into his kingdom. You have to understand, kind of look at it like this, right? You can't be all obese and overweight to ride certain rides at an amusement park. You got to be a certain weight to get on the ride. Well, the Lord's kingdom is by far not an amusement park. There's nothing to our imagination, but we can't be obese. We can't be of the flesh and full of leaven of the world and having a lack of faith and all out of shape and bent out of shape to get into his kingdom and to enjoy the marvelous sanctuary that he's prepared for us. We have to be a certain way. We have to be molded. He has to remove us with impurities. He has to teach us lessons. You understand? In order to get there and understand what he has prepared for us. I'm gonna get one more and I'm gonna pass it. Right. 1 Peter chapter 1. I'm gonna start at verse 6. It says, wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold temptations, that the trial of your faith, being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of the Hamashiach Yahushua, whom having not seen ye love, in whom thou now ye see him not, yet believing ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, even the salvation of your souls. And that's plain. I yield there, King.
King, hey, you made a beautiful point. Right? It's because I know I'm a parent, right? So and looking at my son, I look at all the ways that I was a knucklehead to my father. Like just looking at him, I can't get mad at him as much as some might, because he automatically reminds me of, hey, I was that same little knucklehead. I really was, right? It would drive me up a wall, right? If I have shown you how to do this thing, I've always had my hand either under your bottom, helping you climb the little ladder to get to the slide, or I've had my hand right around your waist, trying to help you get up there, right? And one day we decide to go to the playground and you decide you're too scared to climb the ladder. Like, I'm not right there already. That will drive me up a wall because you asked me to come to this dang playground, right? That will drive me up a wall, right? But again, like the brother eloquently put out, bro, that's a lack of faith, right? And that lack of faith, hey, the Lord can't do nothing with that. There's no mountains that's going to be moved with that, right? We bring out this account all the time on the highways and hedges, but I kind of want to just deep dive on it, right? It's the book of Matthew, chapter 19 and verse 16. And behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? And he said unto him, Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is the Most High. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments. And he said unto him, which Yahushua said, Thou shalt do no murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, honor thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. The young man said unto him, All these things have I kept from my youth up. What lack I yet? Right? So before we continue on, right, this is something that we really want to highlight in this class, right? The doing of the commandments, right? What's your intention when you do the commandments, right? Are you doing them for a reward, or are you doing them because that's what you sincerely believe in? That's what you sincerely have faith in, right? Are you following the example of David, for example, who says, Through thy precepts I get all understanding, therefore I hate every false way, right? Or are you following the example of this young man right here, right? Are we going to get into it, right? Verse 21, Yahushua said unto him, If thou wilt be perfect, go and sell that thou hast and give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me, right? What did Yahushua tell us just a few chapters ago, right? Where your heart is, that's where your treasure will also be, right? So really keep that in mind, right? It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 29 and verse 13, classic precept. Wherefore the Lord said, For as much as this people draw near me with their mouth and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of man, right? It is one thing to know what to do, right? But if your heart isn't all the way in it, if you don't truly believe in the things that you're doing, right, and how that's supposed to bring about, right, righteousness, right, then you're not going to give it your all at the end of the day, right? The book of Sirach, I believe that's chapter 43 and verse 30, I believe. The Lord say, when you serve the Lord, do it with all your strength, because you can never go far enough, right? But if your heart is not there, right, then you're not going to even forget going far enough. You're going to do the bare minimum, right? Now, like I said, I think about myself, a whole knucklehead, right? I was always one of the smartest kids in school, right? But I didn't believe in school. Like I hated school, truth be told, right? And though I could pass a test easily, right? What did my grades look like? Because coming up in school, you understand that your grades don't necessarily just fully come from the tests you take. It comes from what? All the homework assignments that were given on the daily, right? All the in-class assignments, right? The projects that are given. That's where your grades come from. If you slipping in those, which are all about what? Practice and diligence. And it doesn't matter that you can ace a test. Your grades are going to look like crap. And my grades look like crap, right? Because the sincerity wasn't there for school, right? Now let's see where the rich young man's sincerity is. Back to Matthew chapter 19, verse 22. This is after Yahushua say, if you want to be perfect, sell all that you have and you'll have treasure in heaven and follow me. What does this rich young man do? Verse 22. But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions, right? He just showed you where his heart was just based off of his countenance, right? He said, man, I'm already rich, right? I'm just trying to get the kingdom of heaven so that when I die, I can be rich forever. That was his mindset. That's what he wanted, right? He didn't really care for the righteousness of it all, right? He didn't really care for what being a sincere servant, a fearful and faithful servant unto the Most High, right? He just wanted to live in leisure, right, forever, right? And we have a lot of brothers in Israel that are just like that. You see it, right? We don't have to call no names, right? But their whole motivation is what? Leisure time, right? When we understand as a people through this word that, hey, we're not here in this current world to live a life of luxury, right? Godliness with contentment is great gain to us, right? Not gain. Gain is not godliness to us, right? Pursuant to what 1 Timothy chapter 6, right? But that's something that an insincere spirit, an unfaithful spirit, an unfearful spirit, that's something that will never resonate within their minds, right? It's the book of 1 John chapter 5 and verse 3. I'm gonna start from the top, right? This is another one of those precepts we bring out all the time, right? But we have to really look at it, really deep dive into it with the proper lens, right? 1 John chapter 5 from the top. Whosoever believeth that Yahushua is the Hamashiach is born of the Most High, and everyone that loveth him that begat. So my pages are all janky. It says, and everyone that loveth him that begat, loveth him also that is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children of God when we love God and keep his commandments. For this is the love of the Most High, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous, right? Now we always say his commandments not grievous, meaning they're not hard, right? But when we actually look into that word grievous, with the root word being grieved, right? It's actually saying that the commandments are not burdensome, right? So take it back to being a parent. You tell your child to do something, right? And though they're probably going to go do it because you're their parent and they don't want no repercussions, right? How do you as a parent feel if when they go to do it, they kind of just, we used to do that all the time, and kind of shrug our shoulders and just kind of drag our feet and go get it done? You can be mad as hell. Yeah, they're probably going to complete the task, but they're not going to do it with 100% effort, right? They're not going to do it with 100% sincerity, and they're not. You automatically see just based off their countenance that they don't value what it is that you're telling them to do the way that you value it. The Most High values his law, statutes, and commandments, right? These are the doctrine of life. This is righteousness, right? The Most High values the things that he told us to do, right? But when the things that he told us to do becomes grievous to us, we're showing the Most High, hey, our heart is far from you. And it's something that we have to always keep in mind, because what? That shows a lack of fear and a lack of faith, right? Continue on to verse 4. For whatsoever is born of God overcometh the world. And this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith. So it all comes back full circle. You're not going to overcome the world without faith, right? You're just going to perish in it. Brother Potter brought up a phenomenal butter call this past Tuesday, right? The fear of the Most High versus the fear of the world, right? If you're fearing the world, if you're fearing losing all the little riches that you got in the world, right, then there's no fear, there's no faith in the riches in the world to come, right? The spirit that we should all have, right? It's a lucky king. I said I was gonna pass it, but it's here, right? And you got to strike when the iron is hot sometimes, right? It's the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, and verse number start of verse number 13, right? Just to kind of, for the sake of time, right? It says, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth, right? This is the mindset that we have to have as we walk this walk, right? Until Yahushua comes back, right? Until the Most High cracks that sky, right? We have to understand that we are strangers and pilgrims here on this earth, right? This is not our end all be all, right? Verse 14, for they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is, an heavenly, wherefore the Most High is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city, right? That's where your sincerity should lie, right? As a child, you should always want your parent to brag on you to all their friends, right? To everybody that might come their way. Hey, you see my son? Look at my son. My son doing this. My son doing that, right? This is the mark of a good child, somebody who yearns for that, right? And that we're calling ourselves the children of the Most High. How much more should we yearn for that from our power, right? And I hear right there.
Mighty points, man. Said I got 3 more points, and in really executing the point of how important it is to fear the Lord and how to do it, right? Because we understand the basis, right? We understand the surface level of fear God, keep the commandments, 1 John 5:3, right? But how do we do it, and what spirit do we do it in, right? The brother was touching on this, right? He was touching on how, that young rich ruler, on how he went away sorrowful, right? He went away sorrowful because the whole entire time, his belief, his value, his reverence was in those possessions and not in the Lord. If we don't really pay attention to that and get that aspect, a lot of us, man, we're going to be counted out in that day. That's the whole reason. And I was thinking this when, on the review class on Potter's Lesson, I was thinking about why Lot turned around, why Lot's wife, why she turned around. We often go to Revelation 11 verse 8, and we see how this place, the United States of America, is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. Well, we see how Sodom and Gomorrah ended up. So when the Lord finally, destroys this place, who's going to be like Lot's wife? It's going to be those who are like that young rich ruler. It's going to be those who their faith, their belief, their reverence, their awe is in this place in their possessions or their feelings and their emotions. So how does the fear of the Lord really look? Let's dive into that, right? It's of course obedience and submission, right? Let's go there, right? It's taking his commands seriously and living in a way that honors him and not ourselves, right? Seeing him as the supreme authority in your life and not your own feelings and emotions, right? Let's get that. Psalm 119, and I'm gonna go to verse 97. And it reads, "Oh, how I love thy law. It is my meditation all the day." Not my feelings and my emotions on how I see things, not being so self-centered and seeing things only the only eyes of Kazakh, but actually adapting into the eyes of the Lord. Adapting into his will involves thinking like him and actually loving his order. Reading on, it says, "Thou through thy commandments has made me wiser than mine enemies. For they are ever with me. I have more understanding than all my teachers, for thy testimonies are my meditations." Right? So we love the law of the Lord because of how he's proved himself time and time again through trials, tribulations, through the testing of our faith, and how he's never forsaken me as long as I do my duty in Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. This is the book of Proverbs 3 and verse 5, and we're going to move to the next point. The next, what I like to see is the aspect of fearing God, right? Proverbs 3 and verse 5 says, the classic, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding." Your own understanding is your feelings, your emotions, your what you call discernment. Sometimes we have to understand if we're going through all of these things and we're suffering from all these plagues, clearly our mind isn't perfect. Clearly, there's going to be some times where we're going to see things wrong. We're going to be relying on our flesh and our emotions and how we used to operate in the world into thinking, into discerning. So we have to understand that we can't lean on our own understanding, but lean on the Lord's understanding. "In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. It shall be health and to thy navel and marrow to thy bones." So right there, that last one, man, kind of got to read down. A lot of times we get 3 through 5 and read through 6, but it really seals how important it is and the significance of it in that last verse in 8 on how it's the marrow to your bones and the health of thy navel. Hey, that's how you get into the kingdom. That's how you preserve life unto the Lord and you cast your treasures in what? Heaven rather than in this place. Right. So another aspect, right, of fearing God is actual hatred of evil. Hey, when you fear God, you're not going to reminisce on the evil ways that you used to operate in. You're not going to do that stuff because you have so much fear and reverence unto the Lord. You actually have hatred towards it. Like for an example, if you used to be, a gangster, but now you done came into the world, you're not going to reminisce on how I was crippling. You're not going to reminisce on how, I did this, I did that, and the third. I used to kick in doors and I used to get some serious bread. Now you're going to hate that. You're going to actually be embarrassed to say that stuff. A testimony is a testimony, like, man, I was doing this, man, and the Lord delivered me. That's one thing. But if you say, man, you should have seen, but I had it like this. Do you really fear God? Do you really hate that evil thing you used to do? So you got to kind of put those things in a perspective. A hatred of evil is a strong dislike, aversion, right, to sin and evil things or practices. The turning away from what displeases God. Hey, you can't take the microphone and be like, hey, man, shaking the hand and you see some gangsters walking up the street, you see some cats selling dope and you shaking your hand and you tell them, hey, man, you killing your people. Hey, man, that's sorcery. Hey, you need to stop doing that, man. You defiling your temple. Woo, woo. But then you turn around with the same tongue and be like, yeah, I used to have it like this. So is it a hatred of evil there? Are we reminiscing on sin? You know what I'm saying? You kind of have to, that's one aspect of it, according to Google, right? When you look up the fear of God, it's a strong dislike to sin and evil things and practices, right? Let's get a precept, right? Proverbs 8 and verse 13 says, the fear of the Lord is to hate evil, semicolon, pride, and arrogancy. Hey, you're being arrogant, man. Whenever you sit up here saying, I used to do this, I used to do that, and third, man, I had this on lock, man. It used to be mine. This was mine right here. Nah, man. That's not having a hatred towards evil. That's actually being arrogant. Reading on, it says, and the evil way and the froward mouth do I hate. Counsel is mine and sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. So that puts things into perspective. The actual exercising of fearing God is to hate evil in addition to obedience and submission. So it's more to it. And lastly, it's kind of what we've been bringing out, trust and love, right? The performance of the law draws you closer to God, yes. But it also fosters love and trust rather than driving you away in terror. Because we kind of was talking about this on, a child and his father, right? You see how he favors you when you show obedience and improves his promises. But that child shouldn't have a phobia towards his father. That's not how the Lord has intended the fear of God. That's not what it's meaning. Fearing in the context is reverence and respect and submission with eagerness, with the love, with the profound perspective. That's what it's about. Because we're gonna actually get some precepts showing that the Lord doesn't want us to have a phobia for him, but more so as a great reverence and respect, right? Let's go into the scriptures real quick. I'm gonna go to Psalm 37 real quick. Start there and give verse 23. We're gonna read down to 28. It says, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. That sounds a lot like how you be teaching the brother how to, jump up on that slide. Man. Reading on, it says, I have been young, and now I'm old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. He is ever merciful and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil and do good, and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loveth judgment, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. So only person that really should have a phobia, man, is those who live the life of sin and really ain't have no care of nothing. Look, man, I lived a good life. I did everything that I wanted to do, everything that I thought I did. I prioritized my life my whole life. Boom. Now I'm on my deathbed. That's really the only person that really should have a phobia, to be honest. Who should be scared for their everlasting life, because all of these years up until now, it's time for me to go. And I haven't repented. I lived my life how I wanted it to live. That I would imagine would only be the person that should have a phobia. But if you're doing what the Lord is telling you to do, you're keeping his commandments and to the best of your ability, it's saying right here that he's merciful unto you. He's graceful unto you. It says the wicked shall be cut off, right? Not terror. So not terror and dread. Israel is not meant to be paralyzed by the fear of God, but rather comforted by his promises of never leaving us, man, right? We go to Romans chapter 8. I'm going to read verse. I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit. I'm going to read 28, 31, 33, and we're going to get 35 to 39, right? Not too long, Israel. I'm almost done. Romans chapter 8 and verse 28 says what? And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. What shall we then say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? Who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? It is God that justified. Whom shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine, nakedness, peril, or the sword? As it is written, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. No. In all these things, we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in the Hamashiach Yahushua, our Lord. So nothing, like we often understand, and we get the scripture that nobody can pluck Israel out of the hand of the Most High God. When you are obedient, you will never be forsaken by the Lord, and nobody can hurt you, because the Lord, who you're investing in and pleasing, he's going to gladly be your refuge. So that goes to Potter, that proves Potter's point. It's important for us to fear God and not man, who has the power to kill, and not the things of this world and the people of this world, because you investing in the Most High God, you already won and join the winning team, because he's the creation of everything here that's in your face and that you see and would have fear of. So you see, you win there, right? Let me get one more and I'll be through. So instead of hiding from him like a frightened child, believers are drawn to hide in him as the refuge that he is. It's important for us to understand that when we say fear God, we're not talking about little like trembling, urinating on yourself, like in a scary movie. Like, no, this is not what that's talking about. It's talking about great reverence and a profound respect. All right, Proverbs 14 and verse 26 says what? And the fear of the Lord is strong confidence, and his children shall have a place of refuge. Very plainly put. I yield there, King. You got anything? You got anything else?
Sure, I got quite a bit. Hey, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Hey, do your thing, King.
I'm not gonna lie to you, right? Brother did a beautiful, right, on that aspect of fear, right? But let's see. I'm not gonna say the flip side because they're on one accord. Let's see the other portion of that, right? The faith part, right? It all starts with the sincerity of your mind, right? What do you truly believe in, right? So let's set the stage real quick. The book of First Chronicles. Chapter 28 and verse 9. And thou, Solomon, my son, this is David talking to Solomon, right? Now know thou, Salakia, the God of thy father, and serve him with a perfect heart and a willing mind. For the Lord searcheth all hearts, and understandeth all the imaginations of the thoughts. If thou seek him, he will be found of thee. But if thou forsake him, he will cast thee off forever. Right? So the whole one of the things that we have to examine, right, continuously, right, is if we're serving the Most High God with a perfect heart toward him, right, with a willing mind to do the things that he's telling us to do, right? Because it's easy to just simply go through the motions, right? It's easy to allow yourself to become a cog in the machine, so to speak, right? And just do things because we do it every single day when we go to the plantation, right? Just make an example of it. It's one of those things. It's like we become robots in a sense, right? Are we here to be robots for the Most High God, or are we here to be living, breathing heirs, right, of our power? It all starts with that willing mind and that perfect heart. And with that perfect heart, we have to understand that what? We're not going to be justified by the law, right? We do all these works in order to be perfected, right? In order to show the Most High that we love him. But without that faith that adds into that sincerity that shows the Most High, the same point I just made on my last go around, right? That, hey, my heart is where you are, right? I want to do the things that please you, right? Then at the end of the day, we're just kind of spinning our wheels. We're just going to work, punching in and collecting the check. So we think, right? Because at the end of the day, we're not in a barter agreement with the Most High God, right? We're not. This is not a transactional relationship. We can never go to the Most High God and say, "Hey, I did all this," right? With our hands up. Yahushua told us, many will come to me in that day saying, Lord, Lord, we have done this, we have done that, right? In thy name, right? And he's going to confess, hey, depart from me, I never knew you, right? So it's all about the heart and the mindset of it, right? And Most High willing, we get into that, right? In the next go around, we already reached an hour, right? And brothers got to get ready for camp. But Most High willing, we do a part 2 on this, right? Because this is a very important, a very vital, right, topic that Israel has to speak on, right? We get Israelite camps always get that rap. Y'all just like the Pharisees. Y'all just like the Pharisees. Well, let's kind of dispel all that right then, right here in this 2-part series that we're doing, right? Let's kind of see why they look at us that way and what it is that we can do that the Most High doesn't look at us that way. Because at the end of the day, it's all about what the eyes of the Lord, right? It's all about our power, our Father, and what he sees when he searches our hearts, right? And hey, with that, hopefully somebody will be edified in the coming days and weeks or however long this lesson is allowed to be up on Esau's Wicked Internet, right? And with that, we bid you a shalom.
Shalom, Israel.